All right, welcome to another edition of the Big Buck Report. This time it was the sandhill crane hunt this morning. We've got our two guides slash owners here at the ranch, Mark and Sam on your left. Let me get up here with the guys. Great hunt today, guys.
Yes, it was.
Great hunt.
It was a good hunt.
It was a very good hunt.
It was a cold hunt.
Very cold hunt.
Yep, Sam started us off early by setting it up this morning. Sam, tell us a little bit about what the conditions were like today, and just give me your thoughts on what your expectations were for this morning.
Well, my expectations started off were very high. I knew we'd at least get one bird. We had probably about 400 birds in that field yesterday while we were duck hunting. We just watched group after group go into this plowed field over here. So I had high hopes, and turns out it paid off. We ended up bagging two birds. Philip over here, our host, managed to drop two sitting on the fence line. So pretty good morning. The only thing was we saw a lot of birds. We had birds work us, but they tended to stay just on the outskirts of a shot. They stayed about 50 to 60 yards away. We had one group of birds come right in between us. We didn't even know they were there. That was another problem this morning. The birds stayed pretty quiet.
Very quiet.
Very quiet. And also with this heavy fog that we got, they tend to just kind of appear out of nowhere. We had this river fog that kind of rolled in with the north wind. Also, our decoys were set up for an east wind at 5 miles an hour, because that's what the weatherman told us.
The weatherman
told us that's what it was
lady.
going to be. Weather lady. I think it was a lady.
I think we have to specify that.
Yeah, weather lady. That's what she told me this morning at 6 a.m. before we went out and hunted, and we ended up getting a north wind at 20 miles an hour. So I'm very happy with the two birds we got given the conditions, and we had some good shooting done over by our host here, Philip.
Yes.
It was a good time. Well, Mark, you were in one of the many little ground blinds that we had. Why don't you tell us a little bit about what you were seeing from the western setup that you had there in the middle of the field?
Well, one thing that was very frustrating is I now know what an archery hunter goes through, because I initially was set up right about middle of the decoys, and the birds were staying west of the decoys by about 100, 150 yards. So I moved my blind over to the edge. Actually, I moved about 50 yards west of the decoys, and still birds were just right out of range. Also with this neck issue, I didn't want to try any crazy shots today, so that limited me also. But the birds were just a little too far out of distance. Something in the decoys they just were having problems with this morning, I think. We think it was the white decoys, the big inflatable decoys.
Yeah.
Were probably giving us a little problem. But all in all, it was a fun morning. I would say that we were probably out there. Chill factor was probably somewhere between 5 and 10 degrees. Sam said the wind was howling out of the north, and we had to really make some changes on the way our setup was, just to try and get these birds in.
If I can give you my account from where I was at, I was not in the two ground blinds like these guys. I was actually out in the open. So the birds were landing pretty far away, about, what do you think, about 300 or 400 yards to the north of us. So we went back and tried to flush them up several times to kind of draw them back over to the other hunters. Well, it just made more sense for me to stand out in the along the east fence line and just stick out there. Fortunately for me, that's where they all happened to be flying, and unfortunately for these guys, I couldn't seem to draw them close enough to where they could get some decent shots. The first shot I took actually took down our first bird here. It was flew right over my head, couldn't even hear him. Like these guys were saying, the fog was so thick, you could just barely hear some wings flapping, and then just as they came right over my vision, I could see him and had a chance to take one down with the first shot. And the second one was Hail Mary, but managed to get him right in the head, and he fell down to the ground pretty quickly and died thereafter. So it was a good time.
We had good action. We definitely had good action. Our birds here just could not get them that final 10, 15 yards to get shots. So
yeah, we started about 7:15 this morning, and we had birds till we packed up and left.
Yeah.
So it was constant action all morning long.
Well, we learn, we get better from each hunt. What do you think next time? Do you see yourself doing anything differently? positioning wise or with the decoys?
Next time I want to hunt with a south wind. It tends to be the best wind with the birds coming out of the north because they don't even work. They tend to just come straight in because they're already going into the wind. They have good control, so they'll tend to just cup up and come right to your decoys. Also, I'm going to set up our blinds with the wind at our back on the back side of the decoys, basically, so the birds coming in, basically they would pass us before they even get to the decoys, so we'd get shots at them a lot quicker.
Yep.
So those are the two changes I definitely would make. And this morning, just the switch of the wind made it too difficult. I mean, we had birds wanting to come in, but it was a tough morning. A lot of them didn't want to land out in that field, A, because the wind was so strong, and B, you just didn't have the right decoy set up. So
it's tough. Mark, anything else to add about this killer hunt?
No, not from the crane standpoint. I think you guys need to now talk about the ducks. We got a couple of ducks this morning that we got back to the ranch, and guide Sam here had a very successful hunt with my wife last night, and so with this weather pattern the way it is, Sam and Philip here just put a plan together this morning and went out, and why don't y'all tell us what happened this morning after we got back to camp?
Well, last night I took my mother, Mark G's wife, on an evening duck hunt just because the deer season's been kind of slow, so we decided to go out there and just see what would happen, and we ended up bagging 4 gadwalls and a widgeon. So we had a good evening, and so I decided, told Philip, why don't we go jump this pond over here that my mother and I hunted last night. And so we drove the 4-wheeler down there and parked it and walked up. And first we walked up on our first pond, and 4 teal flew off it. And we didn't get a shot at them. But then we moved on to the next dam, and we 3-2-1'd it and walked up. And had probably 8 ducks fly up. And Philip made 2 great shots and dropped 2 birds. And I shot 3 times and dropped 1 bird, but it never found it. It might have run off into the wheat field, which they tend to do if they're wounded. So Philip here is Mr. Killer this morning. He had a good morning.
It's usually not that way, but I got pretty lucky today. I had a couple good guides on the left and right here that really helped me out a lot. I will say that does total out 30 ducks for the season, which is an awesome season. I think it's one of the best we've had out here so far. And especially Sandhill Crane, the season's not over yet for both of these, but already bagged, 4 or 5 birds already? 5 cranes. That is unbelievable. Unbelievable. So, guys, do you have anything else to add about this hunt?
I just say that we still got 30 days on cranes and
20 days on
20
ducks.
days on ducks. So I think you're going to see some more episodes. You might see this whole bar lined up here pretty soon, just full of ducks and with cranes.
Yep.
We got a great winter pattern for the ranch this year, so
Yep.
we'll see what happens.
Absolutely. I think we want you guys to stay warm out there.
Yeah.
I think hopefully next time it'll be a lot sunnier conditions. There won't be as much snow on the ground. I think we can go ahead and wrap up another edition of the Big Buck Report with Sandhill Cranes and Ducks, always on the pond. Have a good one.